Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Seek Therapy Podcast. It's me, Jasmine,
In America.
And Jasmine Ty.
and we are back. So, how y'all doing? What's been up these last 2 weeks? Ciao.
I miss you guys.
I know, I missed y'all. Let's see. Well, I'll start with the challenge. I can always tell what kind of week people have had if they start with a challenge.
They tell you a lot.
It does. So, my challenge, I posted on social media on Twitter, but it was school counselors week, and I found out that people had gotten certificates, gotten muffins, and things like that. And initially, I was like, oh, maybe because like I'm a psychiatric social worker that they're not considering me. That's fine. Next month is social workers month. So I didn't think nothing of it. And then I found out that the person that does my exact same job, but for the whole rest of the school, had gotten it. And I was like, skirt, what?
Where did you do that at?
So my coworker screenshot and sent me an email of an invitation for like a luncheon for school counselors week. And she was like, why weren't you included? And I said, huh? So I look, and I see that literally every person who's like in my kind of capacity was included. I'm talking attendance counselors, I'm talking academic counselors, I'm talking the same person that does my job too, like everyone. And so I was just like fed the fuck up. Like Cancer Crybaby came out. I was like, fuck this. I drive an hour to be here when I could be working at home, not leaving my house, doing way better mentally, you know. But because I care about my community and I want to actually help the future, to be excluded is just like a slap in the fucking face. And it's Black History Month. Like, I would like to fight. Disrespectfully. So I went to work Friday. I knew I was going. So I just went so I can address that and advocate for myself and just say, like, I don't have to be here. And I am a fucking gift to this school. And so for y'all to treat me like this is just like, maybe I shouldn't be here. Because literally my days of having shitty jobs are over. Like, I'm a licensed clinician. I don't have to be doing this.
Yeah.
And so, I did that and I left. Went out to lunch with Joe. I got some drinks. I was like, this has been a hell of a fucking week. Like, no one should ever leave their job bawling for an hour and bawl on the way to work the next day. Like, no one should be feeling like that. And so on Monday when I came back, she came and she was like thirsty to talk to me. Oh, calling, and to give me the certificate that I should have had to start. And I was just like, okay. So she's like, how can I repair this? I'm like, I hadn't thought about that, but we could start with the Starbucks. She's like, what size? But get the fuck out my face. Get out my face. A large, a Trenta. Run it the fuck up. Reparations.
I was about to say, it's giving reparations.
So she did end up giving it to me. But yeah, it's just been It's been raggedy. And, it's crazy that I posted it on Twitter and people I haven't even met before literally made me a certificate and like sent it to me on Twitter. And I'm just like, people can be so nice. Somebody sent me some money. I said, yes, ma'am. My best friend sent me some Cinnabon. I said, yes, ma'am. Yes. Which brings me into my highlight, which is that the next day, that Saturday, I had my Galentine's, and I wish y'all was over here so y'all could have came. But it was just so nice. It was great. Like, I had flowers everywhere. I made a charcuterie board. Everyone had to bring like a snack of pink or in white and red. And so that was cool. I made like this little drink, little punch, and I had my nunu in there. So I'm gonna save that for the nunu. But it was a really good time. My friends brought me flowers because of how shitty I was feeling. And so it was very nice to realize that I have a amazing community, and I tweet about it often, like, because I'm just so grateful because this was not my reality in my 20s. I would have told my friends like, "Oh, this happened." They would have been like, "Oh, I'm sorry. When y'all want to go to brunch?" when we got, let's get fucked up. Like, that's the solution. And so it's just great to be in a place of like genuine community. So I talked a lot. How y'all been? What's been up?
What's up, America? So you got your new weight zone. Come on, girl.
Inches.
Let me see. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to say something about your first part about you want to serve your community. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But I also want you to remember that you can serve your community without sacrificing yourself.
Ooh, why the fuck she coming in guns blazing like that?
It's America.
I know, right?
Laying down the truth. That's true.
That is true.
A lot of us feel like we have to be a martyr, but no.
Because you're talking to a fellow social worker who also served the community and was a martyr, and it took a hell of a toll. And I was self-sacrificing and abandoning myself, my needs, my everything, so that I could be a part of the community. And it was beautiful. And they fuck with me, and it's great. And I know I was impactful, and also, and
You
you know
had
what I mean?
nothing. Yeah.
No, so right. So I think it's other ways that you can serve the community in a way where you're not abandoning yourself and you're making sure you're taking care of yourself. In the words of Monique, no, never mind. Never mind. I'm not gonna do that.
I'd like
you
to
got
see
a new Stanley.
So remember, I showed you the black
Oh
one.
yes.
I was supposed to get the soft green one or whatever the hell it was. So they sent me the black one on accident. I reached out to them. They were like, "Oops, sorry, you can keep the black one. We'll send you the green one." Bet. Sorry, we ran out of green ones. Does this suffice? Bitch, at this point, give me my cup. It's been 3 months. Give me my cup.
Oh my god.
And these are like the $70 cups.
They're not 70.
On Amazon, they are.
Well, they're reselling. They're trying to get their money up.
Okay. I was like, that doesn't make sense. I'm not paying over $20 for it.
I have my other one.
I like it though. Yeah. It's nice that the ice has been in there since mid yesterday, I think. So
right, like right. It's like okay, and it is that much.
That's not how I feel. Like okay.
What about it?
So now what? What y'all gonna do anyway? So let me see. Oh, challenge. I always got something to do. That's my challenge. I always got some shit to do. Always.
You always saying yes to doing some shit.
Yeah.
So, I fixed it for you.
Well, in this case, no. But usually, yes. But maybe this is a result of saying yes. Shit, I don't know. Either way, I got too much shit.
That sounds about right.
So that's a challenge. It's gonna be a challenge, I guess, until it's not. But that's annoying as hell.
Not the doggo pulling up like.
Well, because somebody is outside barking, and when somebody else is outside barking, we gotta let them know we're here too.
Right.
Um, it's the Scorpio in her; she can't help it. But anyway, so yes, that's my challenge. I always got something to do. But then my highlight for this week though is I got some things off of my to-do list that I needed to do. It's such a catch-22 around this bitch all the time. But there was something on my list that I have been prolonging for the last 2 months because it was going to take a lot of time and a lot of energy to do and require me to do shit in person. And like, I just don't be wanting to do that. But I got it done.
Yay, so proud of you.
Thanks, y'all. Keep me lifted.
I lifted it up, raised the roof for you. That's how my age shows at work all the time. They're like, Miss, you be doing the throwback dance.
Not the throwback. I still do the big head bounce at least once a week.
Because why not?
I'm like, you don't never hear nothing and just gotta act like the way
Because I'm a chicken head some shit and I don't give a fuck what it is.
Like, I'm gonna spin it around.
Correct.
Right.
What you want to do? What my ass ain't. So
you can't.
I'm a chicken head.
It don't think, what is it? Throw it up and you wait and then snack it. Come on.
Right, because I'm
on. They don't know.
That too. Like
right.
I will hit the pool palace in the grocery store.
Not the pool house.
Especially if some on sale.
I love it.
For real, for real.
I love it.
That's funny. Damn, we are in our 30s. Cool.
It's given very much so that.
Oh,
America looking at her dog like I be looking at Janae.
I just don't be understanding.
Like that.
Put them down.
Speaking of old school and all that, real quick. Sorry, Jeff, I don't want to step on your
No, go ahead.
This TikToker posted on TikTok a playlist of songs that we was listening to. So he posted Plaza Shawty. He posted Unpredictable Jamie Foxx. Ooh. And this young man, y'all, said it is the auntie playlist.
I am shooketh. How did we get here?
No, he's tripping.
He said this is for y'all.
Well, then who's listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire? Because those are the aunties. I mean, I listen to them.
I listen to them now. Like, are we the aunties now?
We are.
No.
Jasmine said no, immediately not. But the truth of the matter is that we are.
No.
Yeah, denial is a thing.
You can't be auntie until you're like 40.
He included When I See You, Dream
by Fantasia.
Shit. Yes.
No.
Yes.
It is. It is giving auntie vibes. It is.
No, it is.
You know, my kid.
I'm listening to the songs in my head, and I'm like,
when I see you. One of my students, I let her see my yearbook, and she was like, "I could tell this from back in the day, Miss. Look at the hair."
Was she talking about like the emo kids? Because they'll date us real quick.
She was like, look at the hair. Y'all was really out here, Miss. Like, that's given very much so old school. I think I have it.
Back in the day. Like, it's the hairstyles.
Back in the day.
She know that band too thick. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just what I'm saying. Like, what type of bang is that?
I know the type of bang she's talking about too, the big ass side swoop.
She said, "What type of bag is that?"
Oh my God.
Nah, baby was dragging.
She was. She said, "Miss, look at you. You have the inches. You have that press."
Oh,
I did have that press.
As you should.
I started to bring my students my 7th grade yearbook, but of course,
Oh,
there's
hell
like
no.
the kids that signed in it were like, "Yeah,
Right,
bitch,
exactly.
you
Yes,
that
bitch.
bitch."
We
Yeah.
gonna get paid. Like, what? No, we
So I
weren't.
was
We
like,
weren't. I
I'm not
wasn't.
gonna bring this and encourage the shenanigans.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
ones, it's a hard no. We never bringing that.
Yeah. Damn.
But senior year,
Damn,
we got
damn.
like simmer down. Like, that's fine.
Right, right. All
But
right.
middle
So
school, yeah.
my my highlight this week, I went to I'm a big old blended family, y'all. And so I spent time yesterday with my bonus mom's mother-in-law, and her and the ladies, the aunties, they went out to see a matinee play, and we went to the Ensemble Theater, which was founded in 1976 by the phenomenal actress, producer, playwright Jackie Taylor. And it is here in Houston. It was my first time catching a show there, and I feel like that low key is now the spot. But we saw Paradise Blue.
Okay.
Hmm. And it was good. And I called, at intermission, I was like, man, I feel like this is about to happen. And what I tell you, like in the last act, when your audience goes, and then the curtain drops or the lights fade, and it's like, that's the end of the play, you're doing something. So yeah, and then we went out to eat afterwards, and it was my first time having like that one-on-one time with her. So shout out to Miss Cynthia and the ladies. So yeah, that was my highlight and everything. I'm glad I got the house.
Being an auntie was your highlight.
Oh my god!
It's just a
Oh
little.
my god!
It's
I
fine.
was,
Just
and I really did enjoy myself. Damn, fuck. Are we the
Embrace
auntie?
it.
Am I the auntie? All right. And of course, my challenge is that I still don't fuck with State Farm. Like they still ain't shit. Um, so what's up, Jake?
Jake said,
Hey,
"You got yourself."
what's up, Keith? My new I literally called the policy, or not it's my policy, but the agent's office this week, trying to get this stuff still situated because now apparently they're waiting on parts for my car. I'm still in a rental. Why the fuck is Enterprise still calling me? And because I'm like their customer. And so I called the agent's office, and I was like, you know what? I don't mean to sound like a dick, but really, what is the purpose of y'all? Like, what is the purpose?
It's like health insurance.
Yeah.
It's
I
helpful
don't.
in theory, right? Until you need
Right.
it, then you have to pay out of pocket.
Like what? And all she was like, well, look, we explain people's policies to them and we assist them. I was like, well, quite frankly, I'm not assisted. Like I was at work, so I had to like, you know what I mean? Not
Tone it
cut
down.
her out in the teacher's lounge in front of other people, but it was just like, no, seriously, like what is the point? Like if I'm having
Right.
to call corporate, sit on hold for 30 minutes in
Mm.
order to ask a question or get my question answered, and
Yeah.
like what is the point of the agent's office? So yeah, I am getting a new policy as soon as my car is back. Yeah, that was my challenge. It is still a pain in my ass.
Is the issue your policy, or is it something
The
else?
issue, no. The issue is that so my accident happened on 12/30/22.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my car was taken from the accident to a storage facility. State Farm had me go up there, and I had to sign a paper for State Farm to tow the vehicle out because it's storage. They don't have their own tow truck drivers. And State Farm, I went and signed that paper on the 2nd. State Farm didn't pick up my car until the 18th.
What?
No, I'm sorry. They didn't pick up my car until the 20th after I called on the 18th for an update of like, when can I go and pay my deductible and get my car back? They hadn't picked it up from storage. It gets to the collision repair place and it sits there for 10 days until they call me and ask me for my car keys so that they can move it in and look at it.
I know you motherfucking lying.
And then Enterprise keeps calling me every so often because, of course, I've hit my contracted limit. You know what I mean? But as far as I'm concerned, I shouldn't still be in the rental.
Mm-mm.
So,
You
and
been in
then
your whip a month ago.
I should have been in my whip a month ago. So the person who's running my policy, apparently I can only talk to her. She works Monday through Friday, 8 to 4.
So well, you're working too.
So it's a kerfluffle. And then and
That
then
it is.
I finally get a hold of her, and she gives me an extension, but come to find out the extension was only good until Valentine's Day. So on Friday, I have 3 missed calls and 2 voicemails from Enterprise talking about where's their money. I don't know. You better call State Farm because Jake has your money, not Jasmine. So it just and so I finally got a hold of it, and so come to find out, she put in the request for $600. Well, there was already a tab on it. Like instead of giving it a time, she gave it a dollar amount of an extension. And so I finally talked to someone Friday evening, and he looks at it and he's like, yeah, this should have been instead of $600 worth of a request, we should have requested 2 more weeks. So long story short, you talk to 4 people, the 5th person is going to be helpful over at.
That's fucked up.
Isn't that crazy? And then they got Michael B. Jordan doing their shit on SNL. Fuck out of here. Shout out to Alexis who sent me that from SNL. And she was like, I listened to the podcast and I thought about you and I saw this sketch. And I was like, this ain't shit.
Oh,
yeah. Damn, are we the aunties now for real?
It's her being stuck on the fact that we are. Embrace it.
All right.
Yeah. But y'all know that as an auntie gonna put you on the new things that she listening to, watching, working out. One thing about my auntie, she be in the know. So let's get into new. Like I was saying, I had made a punch for Valentine's Day. And on TikTok, I saw this girl make some drink and she put edible glitter in it. And my shit was just like so sparkly. And so I also did that for Valentine's Day, had like the iridescent. It was cute. Did come out the other way also.
That's even better.
I know. I was like shitting glitter.
America is sick of us.
But yeah, that's my new. Just like you don't need a reason to like romanticize your life. Like if you want to be extra, do you. If that'll make you happy, do you.
If you want to poop glitter, that's your business. Because it's damn sure mine. Oh, shit.
What about you?
I'm going to say real quick, my new is hood feminism. I bought some Black History shirts off of Amazon, and this popped up as like, girl, you might want this too. I was like, okay, I do. So once I finish living forward, I'm going to slide over to that. I'm trying to do, last time we talked about juggling more than one book at a time.
Mm-hmm. All About Love.
Yeah. So I'm trying to do that because when I was little, I would do that. I remember reading The Wizard of Oz and like Peter Pan at the same time.
Yeah.
For what reason? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exercise your imagination.
Period. I just finished my 4th book this year.
Damn. I need to catch up.
She getting it in.
You better work. Come on, literate.
Yes. Put us on, America. What's up, sis? What's new?
Mine is not as entertaining as y'all's, but baby, we watched Unique's new movie, The Reading.
I did too last night. What you think?
Baby, that shit was funny to me.
It was.
Did I watch it?
I was like, is this a horror movie or a comedy? Because why am I laughing so much? It was the one-liners that she was giving.
Yeah,
she was like,
yes, and fuck you too, baby. She gave me everything I needed. I'm not
No.
Yeah, it was out. So to answer your question, should you watch it? Yes, just because you should watch it.
You should
but
watch
it.
Alpha edible.
At the end of the day, it's a BET movie. So like, leave the lights on, girl.
But you know what? It started off real. We started off real strong.
We did.
I was like, okay, bitch, and then I feel like they rushed it. They were like, baby, we got an hour, however much to get this all out.
Right. Commercials were considered in production.
Yeah. And it was, we gotta go get it. And then they just rushed through the rest of the movie. But, I'm not mad. Shout out to Monique, honey. Making her re-debut. She ain't been on TV in a while because then she pissed some people off. Anyway.
Yeah.
And I think the same person she pissed off was the director.
It was a Lee Daniels movie, The Reading.
Oh.
And there was the moment where I was sitting there and I was like, is this a Tyler Perry joint? And I was like, no, because she, like they have beef. And so when the credits roll, I was like, oh, it's a Lee Daniels. But I think I'm with you, America. Like I sought the movie out specifically so I could see Monique.
Yeah.
And she carried. It's just.
And they had a few too, because they fell out after Precious. So like they just 50, if I'm not mistaken, I could be a little off. But I think 50 helped them, or like 50 got them niggas together and was like,
squad.
Y'all put her, or I'm putting her on the screen.
With Lee Daniels, and you would think that that usually solidifies a professional relationship.
Yeah.
I will say that her legs were shaved in the movie, unless they like CGI'd that. But she was moisturized, glistening, because there are shots, America.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
There are, and I was wondering if that was intentional, and then I laughed about that too because I was like, "Oh, y'all niggas trying to be funny." So yeah, but you know what? I ain't even mad. I got a theory. If you watch it, if you like allow yourself to go there, you can come up with some other shit about what was really happening. And so I can appreciate that. So yeah, go watch it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seek therapy certified.
Not certified.
I don't know about certified, child. Just
acknowledged.
We love a good hood jam,
We do.
Like that's what it was. I felt like that's what it was giving, low key.
Yeah,
and that's why I find myself on Zeus.
Girl, I wasn't coming back, but just the rest of it was giving me heartburn. Like I was like, I can't with y'all.
You're not at Zeus yet, but
no, but it's not even my account. It's my friend's account.
Shout out to your friend.
Yeah,
right? But I'll be watching it because my kids be watching it, and so I'm like, what the fuck are they watching? And then I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
No, for real. For real. Yeah. I have thoughts. I could give a whole spiel about Jocelyn's Cabaret.
That's what we started yesterday.
I have, yeah. There's so much potential there, right? Like if she wanted to go back to her community and make some changes, but Lord, that is not what's happening.
It's not, because she said, I gotta get these $2 hoes together.
Girl. Damn.
And if not, then I'm gonna knock off some wigs. I said, okay. So we're leading with violence. Noted.
And titties. Violence and titties.
Titties, yeah. Yeah. But something that's not violence and titties is the stigma of mental health.
No, man.
You're at Seek Therapy where we are not for violence and titties.
I'm gonna argue it's still about violence and what about titties if you want to be real, but go ahead. I'm gonna let you
Well, I would like to actually hear your argument and then we can just lead with that.
Oh, about why I think it's still about violence?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where do I start? I think when we think about mental health services in general as a community, just like other wellness practices, they've been whitewashed. So when we
Mm-hmm.
think about the whitewashing of wellness practices, of holistic practices, we think
Right.
about who is at the root of that. Y'all gonna hate me again, and I don't care. White supremacy wins again. And so white
Oh, period.
makes you believe that these services aren't meant
Uh,
for you. They're meant for
Right.
other people. These
Right.
practices aren't meant for you, they're meant for other people. And when we're thinking about white supremacy, we know at its foundation it's about oppression, and we know it's
Mm-hmm.
about structural violence. So
Mm-hmm. I love you, America. Wow.
Yeah, 100%.
that just
That's
kind
it. That's the way that goes. Because, what I hear all the time is, oh, therapy, that's for white people, and that's for crazy people, and that's for
Mhm.
whatever, right? Um,
Jesus.
but I'm like, that's the one thing white people did get right. When something happened in their family, they go to therapy. When something happened in their life, they go to therapy. Us, we're like, what happens in our house stays in our house. We gonna pray about it. Go ahead.
Go ahead, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, we gonna pray about it. We gonna pray it away. And like, yes, you could pray, but you could also go to therapy.
Right.
And so a lot of the work that I find myself doing is like decolonizing therapy and putting it in a way that Black people can receive it. It doesn't. I tell them, like, I'm not ever going to send you to a place that only has white therapists.
Mhm.
I'm asking these questions. Do you have Black clinicians? Because I don't want to be setting people up. And this is not to say that white clinicians are not good. What I'm saying is that as a Black person, it's important for me to have someone I can relate to.
Right. There are cultural markers that you can identify with if when someone has your same culture. And we all know it. You can read Twitter, and when there's someone that like has the same experience as you in childhood, uh,
Mm-hmm.
like there's certain things, you know, culture.
What you was going to say, America?
You said that's the one thing that white people got right or that they do right. And I think that we also have to remember that white people have an advantage there. They have the privilege
Mm-hmm.
and the flexibility and the luxury to
Resources.
yeah, and resources to be able to seek out therapy for a whole
Right.
slew of reasons. They
Right.
have the higher probability of finding a therapist that looks like them.
Right. Oh my God. That's
White
easy money.
Right. White
Easy.
people's community or white people's behavior isn't as collective as ours is. So white folks get to be individuals. So one white person
Mm,
in the family going to therapy doesn't now mean their whole family is crazy.
right.
One of us goes, oh, well, it must be your mama, mama, mama's, mama's, mama's,
Right.
mama's, mama's, mama's. And it's like this whole collective thing. And so I think that while, yes, white folks got it right, they also get to do this. It is a privilege that they have
Right.
that we aren't afforded. And again,
Right.
it goes back to white supremacy because that's the
Right.
purpose. The purpose is to keep us down here feeling
Right.
wounded and unhealed and hurt and
Right.
fucking ties and oppressed while everybody else gets to live their happy go lucky ass life.
Mm.
Right.
And I wish that people could see that,
Yeah.
because nowadays we have more resources. They're impacted, right? Because there's not a lot of clinicians accepting Medi-Cal and things of that nature. But the stigma is what is stopping people as well, because a lot of people do have access to these resources, but because of how they were taught about therapy and mental health and, saying like, oh, so and so is touched or, whatever the case may be, then people shy away from going and seeing what it could be about and seeing how it can benefit them. And so something that I tell my students, because they're like, Miss, therapy not going to help. And I'm like, it's not going to change your situation. It's not. It's not going to change your parents. It's not going to change any of that. What it's going to change is how you relate to all those things, how you think about those things, how you think about yourself, and the ways that you cope through all of it, which is lifelong skills that you need because life is always going to life. And so looking at it like that can be a little helpful. I'm like, for me, I'm in therapy. I go every week. I let them know. I let parents know. I let anybody know. Therapy. Because this shit is crazy. And y'all not going to make me go crazy. I'm going to go talk to my therapist and get this made sense of, or at least have that space to do what I need to do.
Yeah. I back this 100%. I'm just, I'm with y'all. I've heard a little bit of it all. So like my first experience with therapy came behind a CPS situation, and the therapist came to see me at school a couple of times, and I had a parent that was, I remember verbatim was like, this person's job is to talk to you, and you tell them your business, and they're getting paid for it. So how much do you think they really care? It's their job. They're getting paid for it. Saw that person maybe more than 2-3 times. And then not actually going to therapy until I was 18 and living on a college campus. And then it still wasn't me seeking it. It was, here's extra credit if you do this, just based off my major. And it wasn't until I got there and I was like, oh, this feels different. Like, this feels good to do. It's something I look forward to even now. So yeah, and even presently with the grief that my family is going through, we are dealing with the real life implications of the shame and embarrassment that comes with this. And it's not everyone that feels that way, but there is a generational difference of how we are approaching mental health, the conversation around it, and ultimately the healing from it. And it is a visible difference generationally.
America.
I think I have a similar experience. A similar experience around therapy for the first time that just dawned on me when you said that, Jasmine. Of also it being maybe CP, it was something too. And that was a similar conversation of this person's job is to find out whatever they can find out that's going on. They want to try to make it be something wrong. And this person doesn't care because they're doing it for money. And I think I remember that. And if it wasn't in that context, it might have been just getting social services in general. But I remember that narrative being placed because I remember saying, well, I want to go do this same thing and actually help people and not do it for the money and not do it because it's my job, but do it because I'm passionate about it and I want to see families do well and be healthy. So I'm thinking there's something there, and I don't have the time to figure out what it is right now. It's something there. But I agree, and I think that was my first exposure too. Was what happens in this house stays in this house, and I think that's culturally something all of us have heard in some way, shape, or form. But when you think about it, it makes sense because when we're thinking about post-traumatic slave syndrome, and we're thinking about the fact that families were broken up historically, we know that if we are to tell what our experiences are and they don't meet what white folks say parenting should look like in our household or what the household environment should look like, then you can potentially be you then can potentially be removed from your house.
Right.
So of course, what
Right.
happens in this house stays in this house. But then it also teaches you that it's not okay to go and talk to somebody about the
Right.
things that you're experiencing, and it just further increases the stigma. But
Right.
then I can say for me, I think for a long time, I really have, and still working on it, and I think it's almost there, but baby, we slip sometimes. But like, really have worn this internal struggle, hard worker, um, overachiever, overextender as a badge of honor, right? So it's almost like, well, that's
Right.
what I'm supposed to do. Or, I mean, Black women in particular have been through so much
So
historic,
much.
especially my own lineage of women before me. So,
Mm.
like, if they could make it through and get it out the mud, and they all were sacrificing
Mm-hmm.
plans for me to get to this point, how dare I now say, okay, well, I need to go get help for all of these things that have happened before me. And so I think there's a lot of different things there that comes up for us. And I also think that a lot of the shit that we have to heal from are not things that we have done.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
I was just about to say on that point, America, like us having to now seek the therapy,
Mm-hmm.
it's that we are, I mean, we're carrying that. It's in our
Yeah.
DNA, it's in our eggs. Our daughters are going to have it.
Right.
So if we can at least, a lot of us talk about breaking generational curses. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that work isn't easy to do.
Right.
And
Right.
so for me, when I start feeling that way, I do remind myself, like, I am carrying both grandmothers, both
Right.
great grandmothers, women I never even met. I am carrying all of that in my being. And
Right.
so if I have to be the one to go sit down and talk to someone and just organize this shit, then
Mm-hmm.
let me be it.
Mm-hmm.
It's either going to be me or my daughter or hers.
Right.
Someone's going to have to do it.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I
Because
just
my big, oh, sorry.
no. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that what I see a lot of is like older generations just thinking that this is how they have to feel.
Right.
Mm.
And so not ever making any movement to feel differently. And so I try to, like, just my aunt, she's so anxious, and I'm like, you should go to therapy. It could be very helpful. And like to have experienced a lot throughout your life through 50 whatever odd years, like, and to just continue going and like never really dealing with anything for me is like a lot. And so just seeing that benefit and just, even if it's not like going through all the different layers of childhood trauma, helping with managing today's anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
For real. I don't think a lot of people realize 2020 was traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
We've all at least, like, if you didn't think you had
Everything
trauma, that's your trauma.
changed. Everything changed. I remember during that year when I was doing assessments, I was literally putting for everyone, like, living through a current global pandemic
Mm-hmm.
as far as like a stressor.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's been 3 years since 2020.
And it doesn't even feel like it.
Shit.
It
Oh,
It
sorry.
does. I feel like time is just different.
is different.
Yeah. For me, my days run together.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I just think the survival thing, our survival instincts as Black folks kicks in heavily too. And
Yeah.
so you're talking about your aunt Jasmine, and I think a part
Hmm.
for her is probably like, I've done this long, I've got to
Right.
this point, so I'll just keep doing it. And I think that's where a lot of us find ourselves at, especially Black women, is, well, I've been doing it this long, and like there's parts of this version of me that's proven to be beneficial. And so
Right.
you want me to go to therapy, and not you, but the
Right.
recommendation is go to therapy, and I don't know what that'll look like. I don't know what that will uncover. So I'll just keep doing what I've been doing. At least
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
that's people all the time. Or when I ask, well, baby, is it me? Because I'm telling you, I'm giving you. I'm sorry, I'm not telling you anything because I'm not supposed
Right.
to tell you
I
anything.
don't tell you anything,
Um,
but a suggestion that was made was
giving you all of the suggestions and all of the tea, and you not the fuck doing it. And I've
right.
had people say, well, if I do it, like that's going to require me to do things that I haven't previously
Right.
done. And it's just easier to do what I've been doing,
Right.
even if it feels really crappy.
Right.
So I think we
And
just
just like that, back to that question, who am I if I heal?
right.
Ugh.
And I think that's why we have to be mindful of like both the community stigma, but then also like looking at it at a macro level, but also understanding how it impacts people on a micro level.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so if we are going to create this space for Black folks, Black people, Black women to talk about their trauma or their emotions, what do the wraparound services look like? How are we really making sure that we are engaging in a way that's really supporting each other? And honestly, that's going to have to be a bigger picture, systemic
Right.
change
Shit.
because it's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through, both
Right.
as an individual seeking therapy services and
Right.
as a fucking provider who takes insurance.
Right. Shout out to you, sis.
That was me wanting to serve my community.
I know, friend.
And I've made better decisions. I truly have made better decisions than that because that wasn't a great decision. But
Did you do it through Alma?
no, I will not.
Why not?
We're gonna talk about that later. But no,
Okay.
I wouldn't do
For
anything
the children.
anybody when you can do it yourself. And so they
Okay. No.
essentially
Yeah.
negotiate higher rates for you, but then there's other shit on the back end. And if I'm doing the work, baby, I'm getting the money for it.
Right.
Period. And
Yep.
it's gonna go with me if I decide to move to Kalamazoo or if I decide to move to Mexico. I'm gonna do what I want to do. And so I don't want a person.
I see.
Yeah. To piggyback off of what you said, America, stigma by definition is a mark of disgrace, right? With the circumstance. Uh, and so by dismantling that, right, we have to talk about what that disgrace is or what it feels like. Um, and yeah, I think for a lot of Black families, it's kind of, I don't want to say swept under the rug, but
And what you mean, kind of? It
yeah,
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because in our culture, seeking out help is seen as a sign of weakness.
Weakness.
yeah,
That
You're
should
supposed to be able to deal with everything and
right.
take everything and continue on.
Right.
yeah,
And that's perpetuated in more ways than one. But
Mm-hmm.
when we think about what was it in the 80s or early 90s, the welfare queen, and that being an understanding that
oh,
you're receiving social services or you're receiving some sort of government benefits that you're lazy and you don't want to work and you this and you're
Mm-hmm.
that and you want to it's a lot of things that contribute to our fear around getting help. And then you think about
Right.
people who have sought out services and they've been institutionalized and shouldn't have been, or they've received diagnoses that have been detrimental to them,
Right.
and they were diagnosed incorrectly.
Right.
So we got every damn reason to not want to go.
Right.
Every reason to not want to go. But I think it's beautiful that we're having these conversations about both can be true.
Right.
You
yeah,
can both feel it's a vulnerable space to be in to admit that you need some support. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
that's a very vulnerable and tender spot. And baby, what else you gonna do?
Right.
Because the shit is hard. So what we gonna do? You're gonna do it hard. You're gonna do it by yourself, and it be a struggle.
Right.
Somebody help you put some things together so you can do some things differently, and it be a
Right.
little bit less
right.
hard.
And your therapist is not there to give you advice about your life or how to live your life. And
America said,
America,
baby, between me
right?
and my clients, we figure it out.
That's what we are thinking
I'm
too.
not gonna let you do no. Okay.
No,
I'm
no,
gonna
no. But it's
immediately tell you what not to do, though. Like, if
well,
you
right.
give me a
But like
suggestion
through
that's crazy,
skill, it's
honey,
breaking it down,
what we're not
but
gonna do is that.
I think a lot of people think that going to therapy is equivalent to going to their homegirl or
Right,
something like that, and that's not the case.
Mhm.
And so that's what I'm trying to get at is that your
mhm,
therapist is not there to give you advice as if someone of your because that's bias. People that are in
right,
your life have a bias. So therapy is that unbiased relationship that you can have. And yes, when done properly, they will reflect your bullshit back at you. And
well,
at that point, the work begins.
Period.
That's
Because
what
how
they
I work.
deadass.
Mhm.
I did want to touch on what you said a little because I think about code switching, right? And the fact that I don't code switch in my practice. Literally, like what you see is what you get. I'm able to drop them gems in a way that you can catch it. Okay. And we might end it with a period. But this is like us having that relationship, us having that bond, which happens when you kind of date around and see what it is, what you want for therapy. For me, whenever I was looking for a therapist, I was like, okay, I need someone who's cool with weed, someone who is a parent, and like a millennial. Because I feel like we are, I'm not going to say that the aunties don't do it, right? But I feel like the older aunties,
Oh Lord.
like how I said,
Yeah.
my auntie therapist. Like, I don't feel like I was challenged enough. Like, my thought process was challenged enough. Um, then, and so get you somebody that's going to challenge you lovingly, right? And sometimes it might not feel great, but that's where the work is. Right up in that uncomfortable feeling, that part that makes you want to, like, nope,
Yeah.
that's what we need to be talking about.
Yeah. I just
Mhm.
realized that about myself these past couple of weeks of just that's been my thing. I went to well, we'll talk about that later. But I sought out therapy for my grief, and being there made me realize that like I had not been leaning into the uncomfortable. I've been pacifying myself with different things.
Hmm.
And so that's really where the work is leaning into what is hurtful, what is uncomfortable. And once you're able to do that, good things, real things happen.
Right.
Change happens.
Absolutely. Um, and the whole reason that I brought up the code switching is because, the way that I was introduced to therapy was like, oh, that's for white people, that's what they do, whatever. And so I was like, but I want to do that. I want to talk to people and help them feel better and, things like that. And so I was like, okay, I have to find a way that I can do that. And I thought, when I first graduated, I was like, damn, I have to show up so like professionally, like, I have to make sure I know all the theories and things like that. And, in order to be taken seriously. But then I was like, nah, because I got the knowledge and they didn't go to school. So I don't need to necessarily be talking to them with clinical jargon. Like, I can get my point across in a way that feels good to both of us and in a way that's digestible for us to have a good conversation.
Right.
And so, if one of the reasons that you are not getting therapy is because you don't think they'll understand you, like that's what we mean by dating around and being clear about what you want from therapy.
But also don't try to date your therapist.
Oh, immediately don't do that.
Yeah, no, don't do that. 5 years. It's in our ethics.
And
After
then it's like,
termination.
for me, I just can never imagine that.
No. No, it's meant to be an unbiased, vulnerable, clinical relationship. So yeah, don't do it, sis. Oh man. We talked about how to normalize therapy, right? Like by this point, I feel like our listeners should be comfortable with the talks. Uh, if not, send somebody the podcast, and then at least that other person you can have some comfortability with talking about it. But
Mhm.
once we normalize therapy, and I think that our generation and the kiddos out there are do a good job of that. Um, I always joke that people that grew up in the 70s, like they had it rough. There's a lot going on in the 80s.
Sure.
Crack,
Yeah.
cocaine, all that. My family's from New York, so I just immediately what my mind goes to. But I just, it we have to acknowledge that for our parents, our grandparents, it is not normalized.
Mhm.
Um, I am learning that with my family as we go through this tragedy, as we lean on each other, that conversations um, are coming out more willingly from my cousins and I
Yeah.
and stuff. And
I
I
love
can
that.
see the uncomfortable, like just I see it that my dad and his siblings and like they're uncomfortable, but um, my aunt went to therapy. It was hard for her to go back to church, and she did that. She got back involved, and so just adding therapy to her regimen. And it was uncomfortable for her at first.
Right.
But we had a talk after her second session, and I get it. Um, but she's doing the work, and it's just I wholeheartedly believe that session by session it gets easier. The more that we talk about this at the dinner table, at the barbecues, just the more familiar we can get around it. And even if it's not the old heads going, then at least for our kids, for ourselves, for our cousins, um, of course, when dealing with suicide in a family, the thoughts of what could I have done or said.
Mhm.
uh, and so it has crossed my mind. My cousin, of course, knew that I was in school uh, for clinical mental health counseling and specializing in military cultures. Um, Still didn't mean that he would pick up the phone and call, you know, at that time. But it does cross my mind. What if we had just normalized the conversation around therapy before we
And
lost,
mental health. Yeah.
you know? So I say that to everyone out there of just say it, talk to your cousins, drop it in the group chat, drop
Right.
a link to one of our episodes and just let that spark a conversation. Uh,
Mhm.
Normalize it in our families. And so if you're like me and you are dead set on breaking cycles and curses, uh, I say that with air quotes around it, then, you know, this is one of those things. Let's just normalize it for ourselves and the people that we love.
Immediately, yes.
Yeah.
And making sure that when we're normalizing it, we're doing it in a way that doesn't that we're making sure that we're being tender with people. Because
Hmm.
Mhm.
I've seen people go to people and say, I'm really having a tough time, XYZ, A, B, and C. Well, that's why I told you to go to therapy. Have you gone to therapy?
Right. And that's not helpful.
No.
That's not
That's
it.
what you need to be doing. You need to
Right.
be, or people coming to therapy saying, like, I just need to know how to convince my partner or my cousin or my friend or whoever to go to therapy. When they get upset, I tell them that's why you need to go to therapy. And we got to really be mindful of the language that
Mhm.
we use
Right.
because um,
You don't want to weaponize it.
right. And I think
Right.
that's the issue. And I think a lot of times that's what we tend to do. And so we're weaponizing it in these conversations. But I told you to go to therapy. I was trying to be helpful. Right. But when were you saying it and how were you saying it to that person? And making
Mhm.
sure that we are not making it seem as if going to therapy is a punishment or it's because
Right.
somebody has done something wrong or
Right.
because they're crazy, using air quotes there. But like we are really making sure that we are encouraging people to get the care for their mental health that they both need and deserve.
Right.
And understanding that that's okay. And I really think that comes from our generation, the younger aunties. I guess I'm a mid-age auntie. Yeah, damn.
Wait,
But
there's
fuck.
categories of the aunties.
Well, she said older aunties,
Yeah,
and
the older aunties are like, 45.
No. You know what? No, I'm not claiming this.
okay,
You
so
are.
millennials. I love the fact that I feel like, and the Gen Z babies are, I mean, they're a different breed though, but the fact
Mhm.
that we are having these conversations about mental health, about how things feel hard, about the importance of taking care of yourself in multiple ways is really important, and I love to see
It
it.
is.
I
Me
really
too. Definitely.
Yeah. I think our Black babies are going to be better off for it. I think we're going to be better off for it. And it takes time. It took time for the white devil to break us down. So it's going to take time for us to build us back up, and we've already done that in strides. America's face when I say white devil.
I know. I'm like, what you got to say?
The white devil is always going to be the most powerful because it is the white devil. We feed into the white devil, everybody else feed into it. It's not going nowhere. To me, our goal is to learn how to operate within it because we
Mm,
can't change it.
mm,
And we're not going to stop what it looks like on a systemic level. We can address it, and I'm always going to have conversations about racism and about
Mhm.
all of the practices that come into play. But at the end of the day, that's just the umbrella in which we all operate under,
Right.
unfortunately. But I had a thought there when I said the millennials, us millennials, and the Gen Z babies are doing better. I think we also really have to do a better job about what mental health looks like for mental health professionals
mm.
Mhm.
and making sure that we are handled with care in these conversations too. Because I think for me, at least at this point, some of the stigma for me around finalizing who I'm gonna go with, because I mean, first of all, like I need a me, and maybe I
Right.
don't need a me, but I feel like I need a me. I
Yes,
need
you
somebody
do.
gonna be like, "Now, bitch, now you know damn well,"
Now
and I
you
be like,
know.
"Yeah,
Mm.
girl, you right." But don't call me a bitch because I might have to fight you. But you know what I mean. I need somebody who is gonna snatch the
Grab
edge,
the edges.
and then
That's like the
put
edges.
them back on.
And then,
Right.
edge control them for
Yeah,
you.
and
I like
help
that.
you
Snatch edges and help you put them back on.
put them back on, and then mold them in a different way so that I can get my
Right.
shit together. I
Right.
I realize that I need that, but I also know that some of the internal stuff for me is around the fact that I am the mental health professional,
Right.
and the conversation is, well, you a therapist, what you need therapy for? Like you can't do that for yourself, or how you helping other people,
Now
and
you know it.
and like, of course, I know it's some
Right.
bullshit. You wouldn't expect a doctor, a surgeon to perform surgery on themselves. So why would you expect for me to therapy myself? Even though
Right.
baby be theraping herself and it should be working until it don't. But
Right.
you wouldn't expect that. You wouldn't expect that from other professionals. So
Mhm.
making, and when white therapists talk about going to therapy, I don't ever see backlash online for
Ever.
them when they're talking about their diagnosis, and I don't, but cool. And nobody bats an eye. But when it's Black women in particular, talking about Black women who are mental health professionals, talking about their mental health, talking about the struggles that they experience around anxiety or depression. I've seen a couple bipolar diagnoses for clinicians and people trying to eat us for filth in the comments about how could you do this? You can't possibly be a professional if you're struggling with these things too. And so
Mm.
just remembering that if we're gonna making sure we're holding everybody with care.
Of course, because there
Right.
are doctors out there who have cancer.
Right.
So why
Right,
can't
Like,
there be therapists who are dealing and
right,
working through their mental health?
right.
And I'm guilty of using the tools that I've learned on myself, but you hit it right on the head. It works until it doesn't.
Yeah.
I was coasting, but once grief got thrown in there, I don't know how to process,
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
And so seek therapy, ho.
That part. I feel like that is a good place for us to kind of wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad that we had this conversation because it's necessary.
Yeah.
These are the kind of conversations that we need to have so that we can destigmatize mental health and therapy. So hopefully you got something out of this. Send it to your homies. And just remember, like literally we all have made it to this day, which means we went through 2020, which means we need therapy. So go on ahead and seek therapy. We all need it. Oh, I forgot my spill.
Yeah, yeah.
You can literally do Pilates. You can run 17 miles a day. You can only drink water and only drink green juice. But if you're ignoring the things in your head and in your heart, then you're still not truly healthy. So go on ahead and seek therapy.
That part.
We all need it. Bye.
Bye.